Hey TYT, I'm Nomi Konst here in Washington, D.C. at the Progressive Change Campaign Committee. I'm always having difficulty saying that. The PCCC. I never actually have to say it.
No, nobody.
I'm just like PCCC. Oh, right. But we're here in Washington where over 300 people have come together, progressives have come together for candidate training. And this is obviously a very important year because so many people are stepping up saying they want to run for office for a whole wide array of reasons. But specifically here, there are unabashed, open, excited progressives in this audience learning about running for office. Maybe they've run already, maybe they have experience in campaigns, maybe they're in the office and they just want to refine and get better. Maybe they're running for higher office. Well, I was sitting next to a candidate who shared his story and I was mystified and blown away because it is such a beautiful American story. So. Mohammed Al-Hamdani.
Right.
I got it.
You got it.
From Dayton, Ohio.
That's right.
The famous Ohio. Yes.
Right.
So, okay, you're running. What are you running for?
I'm running for Dayton Public Schools Board of Education.
So, Public School Board Education, school board. This is an important role.
Yes, I'm running on a slate with Paul Bradley, Karen Wick-Gagne, and Reverend William Harris. So, right.
Why school board? I mean, you have a background in politics. You have an incredible story of how you came to America. But, why'd you start there?
Well, I think it's a great place for me to start because I've always cared about education. Education has played such a big part in my life. My family came here as refugees in 1992 when I was 10 years old. I didn't speak English. I didn't know anything about this country. In fact, the only 3 words that I remember knowing at that time were boy, girl, and window. And when we got here, if it wasn't for these progressive programs like public education, like Medicare, listen, we were also on welfare. If it wasn't for all these programs, if it wasn't for the fact that refugees were welcomed in America, I wouldn't be here today. But it took my educators, my teachers, to invest in me heavily for me to succeed. And as an attorney today, I can tell you I wouldn't be anywhere in my life if it wasn't for my great teachers and public education. And that's why I want to start in Dayton Public Schools.
So you're a refugee from Iraq. Let's be very clear here. You came here. Let's fast forward. If Trump's policies were enacted when you came to this country, would you have been able to make it here?
No, I'm one of the original banned countries. He wanted to keep people from Iraq out. He's wanting to keep refugees out of this country for a while. These policies are failed policies. They don't address the problem. They don't address any issues he's talking about. They're playing to the lowest denominator and scaring people of what Muslim Americans and refugees stand for. We're hardworking people that want to do the right thing in America, and we invest in ourselves. I am a great success story, not because of just me. It's because of everything America has given me. America has invested in me. The city of Dayton has invested in me. And it should invest more in people like me. Let more people in. We're the shining light on top of the hill, and Trump is turning off the light right now.
Well, we find is so many immigrants, the majority actually of entrepreneurs in this country are immigrants that came from other countries, and refugees as well. You have an incredible story. You worked your way literally out of poverty, and you're a lawyer now. But you also worked in voter protection. You worked for President Obama. Tell us a little bit about your political background in getting you to this moment.
Sure. After I graduated college at Wright State University, that's a shameless plug there. I actually went to work for the Department of Defense first. I helped train Marines that were being sent over to Iraq, my homeland or my country of birth, for 4 years. And after that, I found myself as the war was winding down and we were getting out of Iraq, thanks to the policies of President Obama. I found myself back, going to law school. In my second year of law school, I've decided to volunteer as a voter protection, really just as a volunteer. And by the first month I got in there, I became the county coordinator for the Montgomery County voter protection efforts in Montgomery, Ohio.
And just for those of you who might not be familiar, that is an incredibly important county in presidential politics because, Ohio is always a swing state, and in 2012 that was, very important.
We're a very light blue state. In fact, it went red in this last cycle, unfortunately. So we swing back and forth, and it took hundreds and hundreds of volunteers, law students, lawyers, poll workers, and we helped organize all of them to make sure that every voter that wanted to vote had the right to vote. And that's very important. And I understand that a lot of us who volunteered during those campaigns may be disappointed today. We didn't get the changes that we wanted. Guantanamo is still open. The ACA is under attack. We did not get the education reform that we wanted. We didn't get single-payer health care. That's still out there. We didn't get the immigration reform that we want, right? And education is under attack today. So
I think what's really interesting about that, because if you tie in the voter protection to the progressive policies that so many progressives, and especially young progressives who volunteered on Obama's campaign like you did and I did and so many of our viewers did, they envisioned a different type of America, especially when we controlled all the House, the House, the Senate, and we had more state legislatures. Right now, we have lost so many seats across the country. If you look at the map as to where Democrats do not have power, it almost mirrors the map in which Hillary Clinton lost. In voter protection, I think what's really so important in your story is that not only are you empowered to run for office, but you also understand the dynamics of we have to win back those districts so that we can protect our votes too.
That's right. Listen, we've lost a lot recently, and a lot of people are, like I said, are disheartened out there. But we can't stop fighting. Voter protection helps protect our voters. But if our voters don't come out because they're not passionate about the message we're sending out there, we got to change the message. We have to come out with a bolder message for our voters. We can't go back to business as usual. We lost for a reason, and it's time for us to take a hard look why we lost. It wasn't just because of one reason or another. There are a multitude of reasons, but for the working man out there, our message just didn't work, and we got to remember that.
You were talking about that earlier. The working people of our party, of all demographics, not just the white working class voters in Ohio, the African American working class voters in Ohio and in Philadelphia, and you had mentioned that when you went to the polls, what did you see when you went to the polls the day of the election?
Unfortunately, in some of our strongest districts, those folks didn't come out. They didn't come out to vote because they didn't feel impassionate about our candidate. Unfortunately, the media played into a lot of conspiracy theories, and a lot of them stayed at home. Maybe some of them thought that we had it in the bag. But reality is there wasn't the same passion that we had in 2008 and 2012. And some of that, and we have to be cognizant of it, is probably because of some of the work we did in 2008 and 2012, the work that we didn't finish that we promised. If you promise our voters something, we better deliver. And we just didn't deliver in 2008 and 2012. It's unfortunate.
You're running for school board.
That's right.
Education, as so many people who've watched my reporting, we talk a lot about charter schools and the divide in the Democratic Party. I'm of the belief that the Democratic Party right now is divided. Yes, there's the financial industry side of the Democratic Party and the working side of the Democratic Party, but essentially charter schools are founded, created, run, profited by hedge funds.
That's right.
And they're going up against teachers' unions. And you see some of these leaders, some of them are really bold and sexy. You look at the top 10 people who are going to run for president, and you start to say, oh, well, this person's young and speaks well in front of folks. Oh, charter school money. Oh, this person has a great story of coming to America. Oh, charter school money.
That's right.
You are running as a pro-teachers union, anti-charter school board member, and you have an amazing story. And you work for Obama. How did that happen?
Well, listen, one failed underfunded program does not replace one failed underfunded program. Charter schools are designed for profit. And I understand that there are some good charter schools out there. You hear about them all the time. But those examples are far and few. And the failed charter schools have hurt our children, at least in my district, more than our failed public schools. And I recognize some of our public schools have failed, but we don't take dollars away from them. We reinvest in our children. We are too busy blaming our teachers, blaming our students, blaming our parents, and not recognizing it's a system that's failing all of them. We want our kids to succeed. I want my children and the children of Dayton to have the same opportunities I have. There is no reason for them not to have the same opportunities I had. My parents didn't even speak English. They couldn't invest anything in me, but I had a system that worked. A public school system that worked for me and invested in me. And that's why I'm a progressive. That's why I'm against charter schools. And that's why I'm pro unions.
So for other people out there listening who want to run for school board, who are wanting to get involved in education, who have the same beliefs, what are some of the solutions, the answers that you have to the skeptics out there, the ones, the Democrats, the Republicans who say, well, I'd rather send my kid to a charter school if I have the opportunity than send him to a failed school because I don't have time to wait. Like, I hear that. I actually acknowledge that people want to make sure that their children have better schooling, even though charter schools necessarily don't outperform public schools because they mess with their own numbers. but that's a different conversation for a different time. What are some of the solutions that you have to present if you make it to the school board?
Well, listen, what you said is almost the answer to our problem, isn't it? You're taking kids from parents who are involved in their kids' education out of the school system, and you're sending them to underfunded charter schools who are failing them worse than the public school system. They're going to a worse situation. That is something that we have to hammer into our parents who are leaving the public school system. And recognize that it will take all of us to lift our kids out of the situation we're in. It will take the parents being involved and volunteer. It will take the teachers. It will take the administrations. It will take everyone involved in the community to lift us up. We have a lot of challenges out there. Most of the school systems, in the school system I come from, we have high rates of poverty. Our kids don't have 3 meals a day. Those are things that we have to invest in. We have cut after-school programs which have shown to be very successful. We have cut programs that invest in community schooling. We have to figure out that how do we get teachers to work along with the parents together? How do we get the parents to come to the schools? A great example of a school system that's actually thriving today is, and I'm going to shout out the school system out of Cincinnati. They went from one of the worst school systems in Ohio to one of the best by investing in community schooling, investing in putting programs inside the schools themselves, like health services, whether it's doctor's office, psychological office, psychiatrist, social workers, even dental and vision offices inside the schools, so parents don't have to feel like they got to take their kids out of the school system. And don't forget, these same parents that we're talking about are, a lot of the time, parents who are working, hardworking people, 2-3 jobs just to make ends meet, and we're expecting them to somehow raise kids, provide for their kids on very low wages, and somehow get the kids to be A students. It's almost impossible for them. So we, as a school system, have to take the place almost of a parent and realize that and recognize that those challenges exist and invest in our education system. We can't keep cutting programs. The more you cut, the more our programs are going to get worse. You can't do more with less. You can only do less with less.
Saw how austerity worked in Europe.
That's right.
Not a great program. So, before I let you go, to drinks, because they have a drink across the street and everybody's walking by like there's a happy hour and we're having a conversation here.
Senator Warren, and they're all happy.
I know. What is a piece of advice that you learned today from the program that you could impart on our audience?
Be yourself, be authentic. Your message will sell itself as long as you do those two things. Do not, listen to the pundits and the polls all the time. You have more power than you think you do.
Love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you.
Where can people find out about your race?
We're on Facebook, the ABHWC Committee. Look us up. You can go to my Facebook page, Muhammad Al-Hamdani. You can look me up. And also you can go on Twitter and find me on there as well. And you can find out all about us. And we'll have a website up soon. Thank you.
Good luck.